This video was created by Fermanagh and Omagh District Council through the Aliens on the Lough project, supported by Lough Landscape Partnership through funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund.
A big welcome from the beautiful Lough and the team at Lough Landscape Partnership here in Enniskillen. LELP, with the funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund, have facilitated the delivery of a suite of projects across a range of themes. One of these projects is called Aliens of the Lough, and I can assure you this project wasn't about visitors from outer space, but it's about tackling the serious problem we have of invasive non-native species locally here in the LELP area. Invasive species are species that have been introduced either deliberately or accidentally by humans and have a negative impact on our economy, our wildlife and habitats, and even human health. This video has been produced to help people identify the main terrestrial invasive plants that may be growing in their gardens, land or communities, and it's to signpost viewers to their next steps in helping tackle these invasive species.
Himalayan balsam is one of the top unwanted species in UK and Ireland. In actual fact, it's now one of the species on the invasive species order 2019, which means the landowner has to control it. Himalayan balsam you can identify by the celery-like empty stalk. It's quite pale in colour with red lines, and the leaves are oval shape, serrated and pointy. By the time Himalayan balsam has finished growing at the end of the season, it could be 2 to 3 metres high. The flower can be various colours, could be deep purple like this. There's also lighter pink and white. The seeds aren't ready to pop yet, so I can touch this. Once the seeds are ready to pop, you shouldn't touch the flower. The seeds just literally pop out. So if you're walking through an area with Himalayan balsam, be really sure to clean, check and dry your boots or walking shoes. So Himalayan balsam is bad for ecology, bad for the environment, basically because where it grows like this, nothing else can grow. None of the native flowers can really thrive. And one of the other negative impacts is that bees really like Himalayan balsam pollen and nectar. So whilst the bees are visiting Himalayan balsam, they're not pollinating other native flowers. They have very shallow root system, so because Himalayan balsam has taken over this whole area, in the winter time, when these all die back, the soil is exposed and is more vulnerable to erosion from flood events along the river. If you find Himalayan balsam on your land, the easiest thing to do is to remove it before it gets to the flower stage. You can just simply pull it out. As I say, we need to destroy the plant so it can't reshoot, and then it can be composted. Or if you have a large area like this and it takes too long to hand pull, you can strim it as long as you strim below the first node. If you have Himalayan balsam and you only discover it late in the season, it's best to leave it until the next year and treat it then when it starts to grow. The good thing about Himalayan balsam is that it only spreads by seed, and the seed once in the ground will only is only viable for up to 2 years. So every year if you do this, eventually you will control the Himalayan balsam on your land. So this is Japanese knotweed. It's one of the non-native invasive species that Fermanagh and Omagh District Council control on their estate. Japanese knotweed is quite widespread in Northern Ireland. You will find, just like Himalayan balsam, you'll find it along river courses, along embankments, along roadsides and hedgerows. Japanese knotweed is from Asia originally, and it was introduced as an ornamental plant for gardens a number of years ago. So whenever it starts to grow early in the spring, in April, when it's quite short, it looks a little bit like asparagus. But as it grows and gets bigger over the summer season, it can get very tall, as you can see here. The Japanese knotweed leaves, we call them heart-shaped leaf. They have a point at the top, but whenever they join the stalk, they do come in like a heart shape. It has a distinctive zigzag shape on the stalk, which is red. So once the Japanese knotweed has stopped flowering later in the autumn, you will see the winter canes. They look a little bit like bamboo and they're quite brittle. That will die back over the winter, and then next spring new plants will grow from the parent plant underneath. So that's where the rhizomes underneath the ground also need to be treated. So the roots can extend 7 metres underneath ground, so as well as the plant above ground being disturbed and causing the plant to just redistribute, if you disturb the root system, that also can cause the plant to be spread. So for biodiversity, Japanese knotweed isn't good. Again, like Himalayan balsam, where it grows, it takes over. That means no native flowers or plants can thrive in this area. But also, if you're a homeowner, Japanese knotweed can be an issue. So if you find Japanese knotweed on your land, the advice is to report it and also then to seek professional guidance on how to treat that. It needs a herbicide treatment every autumn, and that is best applied by a professional. It's very important not to trim or cut it. Japanese knotweed spreads vegetatively, which means by both the stem and also by root. So if this is cut and moved to another location, that will regrow. It doesn't produce seeds in Northern Ireland, which is why we can't trim it or cut it. We can only control it chemically.
So this is a laurel. Laurel's been introduced since the Victorian times, not realising what damage they could do to the environment. So laurel has a very waxy leaf. It broadens as it gets older at the end, and your rhododendron narrows. That laurel basically kind of have a flatter branch, so their laterals come out opposite each other. Rhododendrons are more around the stem. It loves to be in the lights of acidic ground. It just basically takes over. Laurel is easily spread by stems that are cut and left. A branch breaks and gets pushed down on the ground. It basically reroots from just from the bark. Also, if there's a wee bit that's broken off and gets laid in the ground, it can easily root from it as well. So this is our rhododendron. Laurel and rhododendron are quite similar. They both spread easily, but rhododendron spreads mostly by seed. Also, rhododendron, if this branch falls down into the ground like so, it easily takes root and goes on. So it flowers in springtime, and it is a beautiful purple flower that comes on it, but then it goes quickly into seed in the summertime. It can be easily transported. So if you're ever in the lights of forest and you're walking near rhododendron, just be vigilant, to be mindful if you're going home to wash your boots thoroughly.
Giant hogweed has been identified as a widely spread species, so this is not permitted to be grown or spread across the district. Giant hogweed can be identified easily by its height. These species can grow to about 5 metres tall. And the actual stem you can see is quite blotchy, so like a rhubarb plant, it's actually got these like purple blotches on it. And the main thing to identify giant hogweed from its common hogweed type is the fact that it's quite a bigger leaf with jagged edges, and the leaves are sort of symmetrical. And the flowering season is June and July. So these are called flower umbels. They're like shaped like an umbrella. These can be as wide as 80 centimetres. And as you can see, there's all these individual stems that come out from it, just like an umbrella. Whenever the flowering season's over, these go into seed. 50,000 seeds can come on one giant hogweed plant. This is placed beside a river, and if these are dispersed into the river, it can spread widely downstream. Once those seeds have been dispersed, they can actually lie in soil dormant for 20 years. So if that soil was to be moved, then giant hogweed can potentially grow at a later date. Giant hogweed is an injurious plant. It can be quite harmful and dangerous to our skin. If we were to get the sap from the stem onto our skin, it can cause a condition called photosynthesis dermatitis. When the light shines, this would cause our skin to get serious burns or we get blistering. And the thing is that this can stay on your skin for the years to come, so this can repeat over and over again. So it is dangerous. It is best to stay away from these and ensure that we don't spread them. So giant hogweed can be found along streams and rivers and any water courses. It can be found along roadsides, derelict gardens, and it can be found in skip sites and old rubbish tip sites. Along these river banks, it can cause serious riverbank erosion as well.
So as part of the Lough Landscape Partnership project, we have produced free invasive species identification swatch cards, and you can get a free copy if you contact Fermanagh Omagh District Council by emailing biodiversity@fermanaghomagh.com. So for more information on Japanese knotweed or other invasive non-native plants, you can go to the invasivespeciesni.co.uk website. You can also record invasive species if you find them on council estate with the team at Fermanagh Omagh District Council. Go onto their website, fermanaghomagh.com, or you can ring us on 0300 303 1777.